Hello everyone, back to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's second video, it takes us to around the 14th of September. So we're heading into the middle of the month with the week to 10 day updates. We'll actually go a little bit beyond that because we're going to have a look at the CFS-V2 for next month as well. Talking of the next month, we've just released the ECMWF 30-day ensemble look ahead. So that's taking us to the end of September, and we're starting off pretty chilly actually in the northwestern part of Europe, but it is seeing temperatures recovering by the middle of September. And of course we'll cover that for today's second video update. I'll also talk you through everything that's happening in the tropical Atlantic at the moment in terms of a couple of tropical storms we've got going on. And we've got the anomalies in at the UK Met for August as well for the UK. So I'll talk you through those anomaly charts also. So quite a bit to cram in to today's video. But just say big thank you to our latest donor. We've had a new donor for Gazovi's. So Murray Sears has become Gazovi's latest donor. A big thank you to Murray Sears for donating to Gaz, whether it's and helping to fund the videos, helping to fund the website and the content. A big thank you to Murray for doing that. So if you would like to join Murray Sears and become a donor for Gazovids, then all you need to do, got a PayPal page. It's very straightforward. You just come to the gazovids.me PayPal page, sign into your PayPal account, and then you can make a one-off donation for whatever amount of money you would like to donate to Gazovids. So that's a really easy, really simple way of doing things. Most people have a PayPal account these days, so that's really straightforward, really simple to do that. Alternatively though, you can become a patron for Gazovids, and what you do with this is you come to the Gazovids Patreon page, and you sign up for a Patreon account, and then you can pledge an ongoing donation to Gazovids, and by doing that you become a patron for Gazovids. And a big thank you to all of the patrons. Got 25 patrons so far. Big thank you to all of the patrons for Gazovids, and a big thank you to all of the donors for Gazovids as well. It's helping us to fund the website, helping us to keep content completely free as you want it. We're primarily ads funded. It's just an extra revenue stream really. So we're primarily ads funded. We're going to remain ads funded. We won't be going behind paywalls or anything like that. There are costs associated with having the website in particular, ever increasing costs there. So ad revenues also are falling all the time, primarily due to this GDPR stuff that's been brought in this year that allows people to opt out of advertisements. So the upshot is, I won't get into that, but the upshot is we need an extra funding, and the Patreon page and also the PayPal page adds an extra level of funding. And a big thank you to all of you for getting involved. Big thank you to all of the donors. Big thank you to all of the patrons for Gazovids. We really are doing something very special here, or you really are doing something very special for Gazovids. So a big thank you to all of you for doing that. Right, so we will move on and have a look at what's happening in the tropical Atlantic. So this is the latest in terms of the tropical Atlantic with the current 2018 tropical storm and hurricane season. So we've got three areas of interest. Let's deal with this yellow X over here. That's just an area of thunderstorms that has moved out of the coast of Africa into the Atlantic Ocean, tropical Atlantic Ocean. Just an area of thunderstorms. It might develop into a storm in the coming days. We'll have to wait and see. That's how all of these storms and ultimately all of these hurricanes sort of may begin as thunderstorms, just areas of cloud and storms. So we'll keep an eye on that. But we have got two tropical storms. We've got Gordon just here in the Gulf of Mexico, and we've also got Florence, tropical storm Florence, in the middle of the tropical Atlantic. Let's deal with Gordon first of all. So this is the forecast track of currently tropical storm Gordon, just there in the Gulf. In the next few hours, it is forecast to reach Category 1 hurricane status. It may well hit the coast of the Gulf Coast of South America as a Category 1 hurricane, but then it should very rapidly diminish back to a tropical storm as it begins to move inland. So by tomorrow, by Wednesday, Tropical Storm Gordon is just there around Mississippi and Louisiana. Is the centered forecast track, but it might be a little bit on either side of that. And then as it goes further northwards into further inland, so going up towards Arkansas, just there, hope I'm getting all of these states correct, and then on up to Oklahoma, or the Arkansas-Oklahoma border, just there, we find that it goes down to a tropical and post-tropical depression. So definitely quite an impact coming up for the Gulf Coast of America in the next few hours as a Category 1 hurricane, and then going down to tropical storm status. And then of course we've also got Florence, and that again, reminder of where Tropical Storm Florence is at the moment. Let's see how this one is forecast to progress. So Florence is just meandering around in the middle of the tropical Atlantic Ocean, not really hitting any populated areas at the moment, but its track is taking it ever closer to the island of Bermuda. That's Bermuda just there. So up to Sunday, we can say that it looks as though Tropical Storm Florence isn't reaching Bermuda, but it's getting ever closer to Bermuda. So early next week, it's possible Bermuda will have a little bit of a hit. And notice as well, at the moment, this is the position of Tropical Storm Florence. It keeps storm status indicated by these black S's just here, or black and white S's. But notice by Sunday, by 2 AM on Sunday, Florence is up to hurricane status. That's a long way off. It may not reach hurricane status by Sunday, but certainly that's the forecast from the National Hurricane Center at the moment. So by Sunday, we could actually have a hurricane in the Atlantic getting closer towards Bermuda. So we are going to have to watch out for what's happening with Florence. It does look as though some intensification could take place there at the weekend and take it from a tropical storm up to a hurricane sort of status. So we will be keeping a close eye on Tropical Storm and possibly even eventually Hurricane Florence in the days ahead. Right, I said that the UK Met had updated the anomaly maps for August, so this is how August has turned out in terms of the UK-wide temperature anomaly. Of course, we focus on the CET a lot at Gazzo, the central temperature, because it updates on a daily basis, so we can keep it going every day if you like to see how the month is progressing. But I know a lot of you live outside the CET region who are watching, and you're always interested in what's happening in your area. So this is a UK-wide temperature anomaly for August. This is set against the 61 to 1990 average. 61 to 1990 is the cold temperature average, and comes in the cold decade of the 1960s, which had lots of poor summers and cold winters as well. So set against 61 to 1990, August came out pretty much above average across all parts of the country. Eastern areas were warmest, around 1.5 to 2 degrees above average here on the eastern side of the country. Western areas are kind of like a degree or so above average. Parts of Western Scotland, Southwest Scotland, and also Northern Ireland, not too far from average. That's 61 to 99. But if we flip that around to a more modern average, 81 to 2010, it doesn't look quite as dramatic, does it? So we do still see the warmer than average temperature anomalies here across the eastern part of particularly eastern England and down into the south of England as well, but not by as much, only around sort of 0.5 to 1 degree above average there across east parts of England. And many northern and western parts of the country actually coming out very close to average, not a deviation at all. The very far northwest of Scotland does actually come out ever so slightly cooler than average, but that's a very small, limited area. So in the west, it was generally close to average. In the east, it was generally a little bit warmer than average, set against 81 to 2010. But it was a warmer month if we was to set it against that old and cold temperature average of 61 to 1990. This is how precipitation looks in terms of August. So a bit of regional variation. Interestingly, the far southeast of the country came out with a rather wetter than average month. That may be a bit of a surprise, and must primarily, I would have thought, be down to thunderstorms that must have occurred during August in the extreme southeastern part of the country. Parts of northern England, particularly southern parts of northern England, coming out drier than average, and also eastern parts of Scotland coming out drier than average as well during August. Most other parts of the country having average precipitation. If we was to set that against the more modern average of 81 to 2010, again, very little difference. So in terms of precipitation, there's very little difference in the averages between 61 to 90 and 81 to 2010. So we do see that in the far southeast, again, it comes out as a rather wetter than average month. Parts of northern England come out with rather drier than average month. Eastern Scotland comes out drier than average as well. And then in between, lots of areas coming out with average precipitation. But that is a change on what happened earlier in the summer. So if I show you July, that's a precipitation anomaly for July, and you'll see that it was a much drier month, especially for England and Wales in July. And then in June, well, look at that. It was exceptionally dry in June, particularly so down in the south. So obviously we have had a more unsettled August. And if I just show you the temperature anomaly as well. So again, that's a reminder of temperature anomaly for August. But if I show you July, let's show you June's temperature anomaly first of all. So you see it was, even against 81 to 2010, it was a much warmer temperature to average in June compared to August. And if I show you July, look at the what happened in July. Very hot month in July, set against 81 to 2010, set against 61 to 90, even hotter during July. And look at the change from July through to August with that temperature anomaly. Obviously, August did have a cool down, and it also had more precipitation compared to earlier in the summer as well. Quite a dramatic difference between June and July to August, both in terms of temperature and rainfall anomalies. Now, we haven't got the full stats in yet for the summer. These maps will be updated, I think, very shortly for the summer of 2018, and then we'll be able to show you overall how the summer came out. You probably heard yesterday that some places have had their hottest summer on record, and that's specific areas of England, really. But we'll know more about that when the anomaly maps update at UK Met Office. And at that point, we will, of course, be able to verify the Gasworthy Summer 2018 forecast. So in the coming days, probably towards the end of the week, we'll be able to verify the Gasworthy Summer forecast. But certainly August did show a deterioration compared to June and July, both for temperature and for rainfall as well. Right, so this is how the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles are looking for the next couple of weeks. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average. Look at Penzance today. Someone's asked if I can have a look at Penzance with the ensembles. So we're beginning close to average at Penzance. We're going to go a bit cooler than average in the second half of the week into weekend. And then next week, it looks like the temperatures are lifting up again to some degree. So relatively warm conditions coming up next week, it looks like now, as we go to the middle of September. Precipitation-wise, a lot of dry weather, actually. So the next few days are going to be pretty dry to the end of the week in Penzance. Remember, this is in the far southwest of the country, so in the north of the east, there will be more rainfall coming up at the end of the week compared to what this is showing. Then we've got some more precipitation spikes showing up just there. That's taking place on sort of Saturday through to Sunday. But then after that, actually a lot of dry weather showing up through the course of next week. So certainly for the southwestern part of the country at Penzance, it does look as though we're going to have relatively warm and fairly dry conditions coming up through the course of next week. Temperature anomalies from the 4th through to the 12th of September are coming out close to average. So for the north and west, from the 4 to the 12 is kind of a little bit cooler than average. For the south, it's actually a little bit warmer than average. It's not a big deviation anywhere either way, so close to average with those temperature anomalies. Precipitation anomalies are looking like that. England and Wales, also Ireland, coming out drier than average, but Scotland and some parts of northern and eastern England coming out close to average, possibly on the east coast, maybe you hint it being a bit wetter than average. We'll discuss that right now, because this is what's causing that sort of northeast to southwest split. It's this area of low pressure that we've got in the North Sea on Friday. Now, how close this low pressure is going to get into the UK on Friday and into Saturday, that is causing quite a lot of uncertainty within the model output at the moment. Does it give us a direct hit to move right way through the country, or does it stay off the east coast of England and Scotland? Going to wait and see on that, but certainly it's going to be turning wind into the north, bringing cooler air down from the north, and also bringing some rain onto the northern and eastern side of the country as well. That's Saturday, but low pressure has made it onto the east coast of Scotland and northeast parts of England. So for Scotland, northern England, possibly down in some parts of North Wales and the North Midlands and Lincolnshire, I reckon there could be some outbreaks of rain from Friday through to Saturday, but probably not getting down into the south. This low pressure doesn't look like it's coming right in over the top of the country as the model output had it yesterday. That's Sunday, but low pressure still off the east coast of Scotland then, so still quite showery up in the northeast, also chilly northerly winds, but ridging is beginning to return to the southwest from the Azores high. And as we go through into next week, we get rid of that low pressure in the North Sea, and we generate this area of high pressure to our south. That takes us to the middle of next week, where we've got high pressure moving in to central parts of Europe, becoming centred over Germany. That's bringing quite a warm southerly flow up through the middle part of next week. This is constantly chopping and changing, though, this period through next week. So we'll just have to wait and see how this is going to play out. Now, we go through to Thursday, and there's some sort of trough coming across the country. That might be triggering some heavy downpours. And then through into the beyond day 10, so this takes us to Saturday, 15th of September. Still got a ridge close to us. This area of low pressure just here, a very deep area of low pressure, is the remains of Hurricane Florence in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. The initial response is to actually increase this ridge over to the east of the country for a while, but then right at the very extended range of the GFS run, that ridge is breaking down. Looks like we're going into a more unsettled spell of weather. It's those tropical storms and hurricanes, though, that are creating the uncertainty within the model output that we're seeing at the moment for this, particularly this middle part of September. I'm convinced that these models are struggling with the development and the placement of these tropical storms and hurricanes, and so model reliability, as ever in these sort of periods, is going really quite low. ECWF for Friday looks like that. Low pressure just off the eastern side. It gets in towards eastern Scotland, northeast England by midnight on Saturday, bringing wet and windy weather in from the North Sea to the eastern side of the country. By the start of next week, that low pressure is out of the way. Then we're strengthening the high pressure to our south, but we're keeping things unsettled up across Scotland and Northern Ireland. Now, the ECM does not make as much as this ridge through the course of next week. So that's Wednesday next week, 12th of September. At this point, the GFS has quite a big ridge centred over Germany and is pulling up quite warm southerly winds. The E70F does not show that. It actually has the main centre of the ridge out to west of us, and it's bringing in a cooler and certainly more showery west or northwesterly wind. So a big difference there between the GFS and the ECM through the course of next week. As I say, very uncertain what's happening next week. In the extended range with the ECM, up to day 10, as far as we can go, we generally keep that ridge to the southwest of the country, so we keep things rather on the cool side, actually, with the ECM next week, and certainly for the north, quite showery too. GM looks like bad, and GM is still giving us a direct hit from this area of low pressure, so it's bringing it right in over top of the country from Friday through to Saturday. That will be more widespread rain across particularly central and northern areas compared to what the GFS and the ECM are showing at the moment. Through the course of next week, again, we build the heights up to the south over France, but we keep things through the early part of the week rather cool and showery up in the north. That's Wednesday next week, siding with the GFS. Actually, the high pressure is centred over Germany, so again we're pulling up this really quite warm southerly flow through the middle part of next week. And then it's the extended range up to day 10. That's how we look in terms of the synoptics. So still keeping quite a bit of high pressure going close to the country, actually. Upper air temperatures are looking like that. So it's quite warm, especially so down in the south. But big differences for next week between the GFS and GM, which are kind of siding with one another, and then that ECM, which is a lot cooler. Finally, just have a look at the CFS V2 for the next month. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period taking us from the 4th through to the 10th of September. The coming week has above average heights to the north, but there is some influence from below average heights to the south, bringing in generally quite an easterly flow. But it's a little bit more unsettled, especially across eastern parts of the country. Then we go through to week 2, which is the 11th through to 17th of September. Above average heights again over and to the east of the UK, below average heights in the middle of the Atlantic. And that starts to drag up potentially quite a warm southerly flow through that middle part of September. Week 3 looks like that. It's the 18th to 24th of September. Above average heights through the country with below average heights around Greenland and Iceland. The jet stream would be up there as well, so that's pretty warm and settled also. And then week 4, we find a bit of a breakdown starting to take place. Below average heights coming back around Iceland, above average heights being forced back kind of like towards western Russia. Still some above average heights down across Spain, but I think we are turning things rather more unsettled, getting a little bit more influence from the jet stream with that one. That's the 25th of September through to the 1st of October. I don't think they've got next week sorted out, though, yet. So I think the more extended range has even more uncertainty than it would usually do, because even within the week to 10-day time frame, I don't think we've got things sorted out just yet. So quite what is happening next week remains to be seen. Certainly the GFS suggests it's going to be quite a warm and dry week, particularly so for the south, and the GM is siding with it. But the ECM WF model, that looks rather cooler and more showery and more unsettled compared to those other two the next week. And I'm sure the uncertainty is down to the development, placement, and the track of Florence. What's going to happen with that storm through the course of next week will have knock-on impacts downstream into the rest of the North Atlantic and into Europe as well. Right, that's brought you up to date with all the latest developments. Don't forget to check out the ECMWF 30-day forecast. Tomorrow we've got the 5-day forecast coming up, and we'll also have a look at the weather for the next week, 10 days, probably including the Beijing Climate Centre for the next 40 days in that as well. So come back for all of the updates tomorrow. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.